back to edition 49 of People Knows Podcast. This is your host, Brian Bullock. Sober Brian Bullock, as I was just telling the two gentlemen on the podcast, ZonaCats1 and SportsCheetah. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing well.
Doing great.
Good. As I was telling them, I taking a little break from the drinking, and it's the last one of the last times I had a beer was when I was betting the Jets money line a few times against the Bears on Monday Night Football, and I realized I had to be pretty drunk to do that. So enough about me. I'm talking too much here. So ZonaCats1. I'll let you guys both introduce yourself, but I'll let you introduce yourself first, Zona. Give a little bit of background about your gambling roots, how you got started betting, sports you like betting, your style of betting, things of that nature. So take it away.
Sure. I guess I was a late bloomer. I didn't really get into sports betting until college. I think Lynn Train and a lot of people that you interact with on Twitter started earlier, high school even before that. But I joined a fraternity. A lot of the brothers there were betting, so I got kind of dragged into it. My best memory, or the first initial memory, my first big bet was on the Patriots Super Bowl win. They were like 14-point dogs over the Rams. Hit that 14, hit the money line, and I was hooked after that. And then the following year, Tampa Bay was a huge, dog, not a huge dog, but was an upset dog, winning the Super Bowl over Oakland. From there, I just kind of played as many sports, as many leagues as I could, kind of just threw myself into the fire, tried to find, angles and ways to, beat the market. The key for me was trying to be, I wanted to be systematic and repeatable. And I learned, pretty early on that you got to really understand the market. You got to scope your market and then continuously evaluate it and take advantage of where those evaluations differ from what the market's actually at. So for me, betting on my top three markets are, NFL, college basketball, and the NBA playoffs. Then I have kind of a second tier where, I'm not as successful at, but I still bet it, more than just for fun. College football, NHL playoffs, and MLB postseason, and just recently I've been getting into Champions League soccer, international soccer. I've been betting that for years, but that's kind of how I started. What's that, bro?
I just said okay. Okay, so roughly about 13 years, maybe? 12 or 13 years?
12, 13, yep.
Okay. I remember that Buccaneers Super Bowl, and I kept thinking of that Super Bowl when I was betting the most previous one, where people were all enamored with Oakland's offense and kind of fell asleep on the dominant defense a little bit when they were making those bets. So,
nice.
So
that was the year right before the center went AWOL.
Oh yeah, Barrett Robbins. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I think I lost a little money on that one. I think that was when I was like, we could go into the public square, whatever debate. I don't really care to get into that. I'll let SportsCheetah introduce himself. Same set of questions there. Your gambling roots, how you started betting, memorable betting moments, things you like to bet.
My name is Preston Cheetah on Twitter. I've been betting for, it's been like 9 years now. And my roots kind of started actually playing poker a ton back when I was 17, 18 years old. And then started playing online a lot and just kind of transferred that. I kind of got bored out and tired and transferred, hey, if you can grind at the poker table, if that's winnable, then hey, betting sports probably is. And at the time I was going to school and I did an undergrad in psychology and a master's degree in sports psychology. And so I've always been really intrigued by sports, obviously, working with athletes and coaches and trying to get them to play at their optimal level. And so I kind of just combined, the math, whatever, gambling side of poker and the psychology stuff and the sports all into one to find, that this is what I like doing a lot more than grinding online poker tables at the wee hours of the night all day. So anyway, yeah, so that's kind of where I began. I guess I'm reading through, sorry. The memorable betting moments that I have. I guess for the people on Twitter, they'll remember. I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't really bring this thing up. I hate doing it on podcasts. So this is only because you asked me a memorable betting moment. But when I first started posting, I've only been on Twitter for like a day or two. I wrote an article for Todd Furman. He asked me to write an article on kind of a sports psychology take on sports betting. And I wrote it, but I didn't have a Twitter handle kind of delegated to this whole community that we're all a part of now. Sure. Now on Twitter. So I just created one, just some nickname a buddy of mine gave me once when we were in Vegas during March Madness a few years before. And so at SportsCheetah did it up. I got a couple hundred followers or whatever because of that article. But then I decided, hey, I should just start posting my plays like everyone else. There's a few people in that community that already started doing that whole thing. And so I posted I think it was through that ITG team thing back way a few years ago. And there's like a limit of 3 a day, and so I was doing 1 to 3 picks a day for, I don't know, probably a week to 10 days, and I won my first 16 bets on Twitter. So there was, within like 10 days, I had a couple thousand followers because I was just this guy who couldn't lose a bet. And it's just really, really, I'm really grateful, I guess, because it was a perfect time to just go on a heater. I've never won that many in a row since. And I finally did lose a game in the NBA playoffs. It was during the summer, so it was MLB and NBA playoffs. Okay. It was just like in May. And I finally lost a game, and then I ended up winning like the next 6. So I was like a 22-1 run, and, kind of just went from there. But I'd be lying if I said that wasn't my most memorable betting moment. But as far as sports I enjoy, betting on my bread and butter, I guess I would say, is college football. It's my favorite sport, plus what I put most time into, and specifically BYU and Utah football games. People on Twitter know, like the last 3 years or whatever, I fit their games like between 76-78% each season. And it's nice just being here locally and having some connections that help me there. And I can get into more of that later if we want to. But sure. Yeah, so that's kind of my main one. And then I'll do NFL, NBA, and college basketball. And so those are my 4.
Okay, I know. I think Shay gives you shit about TCU, right?
Yeah. Last year I liked them. I was really high on them, and they didn't pan out. And now this year they're going to run the table. So
yeah, I was listening to that podcast from earlier this year. He was giving shit about TCU. So
he's a Longhorns fan, so he just hates them anyway.
Oh yeah, it's understandable. So. All right, so the topic that we wanted to cover for the most part on at least the first half of the podcast here is Bitcoin, and I've seen Zona. I've seen you tweet a lot about Bitcoin, and Cheetah, I assume you have a little bit of background on this as well. So if one of you guys wants to answer some of the basic questions, because I don't know how many people are like me in the sports gambling world that really don't know much about it. I know Zona sent me an article about explaining how to explain Bitcoin to even a 5-year-old understanding. So, Zona, I don't know if I guess I could go to you for, or you guys, whoever wants to talk about some of the basics of Bitcoin. What is it? How to acquire it? How does it work? Things of that nature. All the questions I covered on that outline there. So whoever wants to take that.
Yeah, I guess I can start with kind of explaining what it is. It gets a lot of notoriety. It gets its pub being. That's not really what it is. It's a technology. It's actually a protocol. It's a protocol like the IP. That's the protocol that allows the internet to work. And it's that technology entails a blockchain, which is a decentralized public ledger, and Bitcoins. Bitcoins are what you use to execute transactions within that blockchain. And the thing that makes it, so revolutionary, so, interesting is that it solves the double spending problem. And for those unfamiliar with the double spending problem is it's kind of baffled people in the comp sci industry for forever. But basically, I'll send you a digital picture or a digital movie or something that's digital. There's nothing that's there to trace whether or prevent you from sending that to 10 people, to sending it to 100 people, and so forth.
Right.
What the Bitcoin technology lets you do is it lets you take something physical or even that's already digital and uniquely virtualize it, and then represent that object, and then let people transact it and verify those transactions without needing a centralized or third-party authority to tell you, hey, this is a valid transaction. It's all through encryption and cryptography. So the blockchain itself is, it's one big public ledger. It keeps track of all these transactions that happen between users, between systems, between anytime there's any sort of transaction between a portion of a Bitcoin or a full Bitcoin or any number, it's recorded on that blockchain. And the blockchain is powered by miners, Bitcoin miners. And miners aren't like miners in the traditional sense. They're not digging for anything, looking for something. They're there to provide, the computing power to process and validate transactions. So they're responsible for taking transactions from us, taking transactions from exchanges, from whatever it is wants to use the bitcoins to execute a transaction, and they get rewarded by having a chance to obtain the next release of Bitcoin. The algorithm releases 25 Bitcoins on this fixed cadence, and it gets longer in between, as more people continues to mine. So it's, decreasing. I think when it first started, it was like every 30 seconds, up to like with every minute, and now it's like several hours between when a block is released that contains these 25 Bitcoin that can go to either one miner or multiple miners. So that's the kind of the incentive to go dedicate compute capacity, computing power to support the blockchain, support the network, allow for all these transactions to happen quickly and through the Bitcoin technology.
Okay.
It's been an arms race. It's people are throwing tons of money trying to mine Bitcoin because the value has just jumped. It's come down a lot lately, but over the last 5 years, 4 years or so, it's gone up and down, and people are just jumping in.
So it's been around. It's been around for a few years then, huh?
Yeah, I can't remember the exact date. 09 maybe.
Okay.
09 or 10.
And how many bitcoins are in? I don't know if circulation's the right word. Obviously, it's virtual. But how many are currently flowing in the system, or however you want to say it?
I don't have an exact number. It's some number of it's something like 200 billion, but don't quote me on either of those.
Yeah. No, we don't. I don't quote people here. No, nobody listens anyway, so don't worry about it.
But, it's a really cool technology because of this way to uniquely virtualize and validate objects. So you can use the technology to, and there's companies that are doing this that are tying it to like smart contracts, virtualizing deeds and titles and licenses. You can use it and to replace passports, and that stuff's kind of in the works. It's really, a lot of people equate it to the internet. Internet in its early days, nobody knew what the fuck it was. What the hell is this? And then over time, it kind of became part of second nature. It became part of everyone's life, and that's where a lot of the experts think Bitcoin's going to kind of repeat that trend. It's going to be built into everything. It's going to be the way to uniquely validate digital transactions. And right now, the first and most popular application of the technology is is as a digital currency, and that's where it's gotten its name, where it's gotten its club. It's a lot of speculation, but I guess we can cover all the volatility stuff later. But
sure,
that's kind of the nuts and bolts of what Bitcoin is. So hopefully I explained it simply, because if I didn't, then I don't know it well enough.
No, I think that covers it. Do you have anything to add to that, Sports Cheetah?
No, man, Zona, he did a great job covering all the history. So he knows more about all of the the technical side of things.
Okay.
I just had some experience as far as getting in on it pretty early. I've also done some mining and used it to bet a little bit, and so as far as a lot of that history and really the point and idea behind Bitcoin as a whole, I think you did an excellent job. I could not add to that at all.
Okay, perfect. That's good to hear. So, what would you say are some of the advantages and disadvantages of using it, either as sports bettors as we are, or just in general?
So for sports betting, or even really any kind of online gambling, it's huge. It basically, the best analogy I can think of is, if there were a virtual and online in Vegas, you're going to a casino, you throw down your cash, and they give you a bunch of chips. Play with your chips. You want to go to a different casino, just take those chips, go to another one, use them there, and so forth. It's basically allowing you to have virtual cash on hand. You can purchase them quickly. You can send them back and sell them quickly. So everything is tied to your bank account, through your wallet or exchange. It gives you that freedom of transacting and playing without anyone ever knowing who you are. You don't have to give any personal info out. It's basically virtual cash, and you can be in virtual Vegas and play wherever you want and use it wherever you want.
Okay. So I know that the one I hear a lot of the Bitcoin bettors talking about is nitrogen. What are some of the other ones some other popular sports books with Bitcoin?
When I bet with Bitcoin, it's either going to be nitrogen or cloud bet. Both of them, I think, are pretty good. There's not that many out there. It's probably maybe less than 10. I don't know. I haven't checked recently, but 5 Dimes also allows you to deposit in Bitcoin and withdraw in Bitcoin, which is attractive. But they're different from nitrogen and cloud bet in that 5 Dimes convert it to dollars on each transaction. So you deposit 1 Bitcoin right now. What is it at, like $350?
Okay.
Get $300 to bet with, and then next week it could be $400. So you pull it out and you get less than a Bitcoin if you hadn't won any money. So whereas nitrogen and cloud bet, everything's in Bitcoin. The units are all in Bitcoin, so you bet in units, you win in Bitcoin units.
Okay. So, I think earlier today, Colin Wilson was asking about the 5 Dimes. Is that still a beta for 5 Dimes right now?
You know what? I'm not actually sure. I haven't tried it yet.
Okay.
I do need to give it a shot. 5 Dimes is kind of my main book, and I kind of I don't really do big withdrawals from that until like end of seasons, or it's my sports betting 401k per se.
Okay. So and he was also asking about the security of around using a Coinbase wallet for Bitcoin.
Yeah, definitely recommend Coinbase. That's the only U.S.-based exchange that's based in the U.S. There's a ton of exchanges out there. Bitstamp has got a solid reputation. There's a couple others that are starting up in Europe and in Asia, but the advantage with Coinbase is it's regulated as a U.S. company, so there's less risk of it kind of disappearing in the middle of the night, like Mt. Gox was an exchange in Japan that literally got hacked. Somebody stole all their Bitcoin, and then they just kind of went out of business, and everyone was screwed. Whereas Coinbase. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, so that's how you would go about obtaining the Bitcoin is through like a Coinbase or
through an exchange. Actually, Cheetah's going to give us another cool way to get your hands on some Bitcoin a little bit later. But you want to do the traditional, you got to hook it up to your bank account. They might have a credit card option, but I doubt it. But it's pretty easy to purchase and sell.
Okay, because I've seen like when the article I was reading, you can exchange like even like 0.0001 Bitcoin or whatever it might be. I found that fascinating. It's
it's divisible up to 16 decimal points.
Yep.
The whole vision is people aren't going to really transact in full Bitcoins. Especially systems. There's this really cool concept where you can use Bitcoin to get rid of spam. You can use the Bitcoin technology for bloggers to kind of generate revenue. Every hit they get 1/12 of a Bitcoin, which could be like fractions of a penny, but you add that up over 1 million views or something, or 1 million comments. They get that adds up and kind of rewards the person for creating the content. Kind of paywall type services.
Okay.
So, today, people transact in full Bitcoins, but 5-10 years from now, I don't really see it being the individual units themselves. I think they're called satoshis.
Okay. Let's see. What was a? Did you have anything to add to that, Cheetah?
Yeah, I just think like what's fascinating or intriguing about Bitcoin, just from an investing standpoint, like at least up to this point, it's been a few years now. But like what I was saying, I'm trying to think of an example. All right, here's one. So like 2 years ago, I started when people subscribed to my site for $99 a year or whatever it was a couple of years ago. You can do it via PayPal, or I also made it an option to subscribe just via Bitcoin, right? We talked about how cool it is you can do any transactions just using Bitcoin. It's really simple, safe, easy. But just kind of the psychology of from an investment point, people that kind of have a lot of Bitcoin now got in on it early, whatever. I've just been kind of fascinated seeing, maybe someone paid $99 for something, but for them, maybe they really only spent $9 for it. To them, they feel like they're getting it for free because they've made all this money investing in Bitcoin.
Sure.
And so the promise of Bitcoin, that just as an investment, from an investment standpoint, is just ridiculous. I mean, the idea is right now, I haven't actually looked in a few days. Is it still around 500 or so? Does anyone know off the top of their head? Probably should have looked this up.
It's like 350. It's getting crushed over the past.
So it's gone down even more since last week. Okay. So let's say it's 350 now. The idea is in 3 years, it could, if you have one Bitcoin worth $350, it'd be worth, 30,500, maybe more, maybe 7,000. And so from an investing standpoint, it's really intriguing. And so I guess what ZonaCats was mentioning a bit ago, I wanted to throw this out because I think there's kind of two kinds of people. There's people that just don't know how to get into Bitcoin, and he's done a good job. I think Coinbase is what I've used, and that's pretty straightforward and safe, and the U.S. residents are able to do it. I'm pretty confident that you can't use credit cards. You have to attach a bank account and all that. So it's kind of a pain. But then the other side of things is there's people that probably are just afraid to get into it because it is an investment. Maybe you don't have that much cash to really invest in something like a virtual currency, which kind of sounds bogus to the new people just hearing about it anyway. And so I wanted to just plug for 2 minutes or maybe 3 minutes real quick, kind of explain why I've been doing these contests. People probably are asking me like weekly. You probably heard about them.
The free contest that.
Why is this guy?
How much are they? How
the free ones that cost like $1 for everyone to enter, like every time. Yeah, some people it's $10 or whatever. I feel like charging them. Exactly.
I bought the subscription. I paid for them all up front.
He paid up front. He got a deal. Yeah, it was just a couple of Bitcoin for his. But people are always asking, like, why is this guy giving away free money? Well, so I founded this company, this app that we're hopefully launching here next month called Playbook. with a buddy of mine, and similarly to some of these contests we've been running, whether they're kind of fantasy related or against the spread stuff, which I know this crowd on Twitter is kind of that's their main forte, and so that's why I've run a lot of those contests here. But we're doing it's essentially, in short, it's going to be fantasy sports in real time. It's going to be a mobile app that users can log in during a live sporting event at night, and there's going to be questions kind of similar to like prop bets, so to speak. Maybe right before the game starts, during commercial breaks, who's going to make the next 3-point shot, like NBA Finals, I don't know. LeBron James and Dwayne Wade, Danny Green, Kawhi Leonard, any other Spur, any other Heat player, A, B, C, or D, and you pick it. If you get it right, you get points. If you don't get it right, you don't get the points. And maybe there's 20 questions throughout the game. And at the end, there's a leaderboard. There's going to be people that are getting scores based on how fast they answer, which answers they pick. There might be more, the Dwayne Wade, LeBron next 3-point might be worth double what, Danny Green, Kawhi Leonard 3 would be. There's just from values for things. There's going to be more strategy to it. It's kind of an in-game kind of prop betting / fantasy sports thing, and it's going to just be via mobile app or on the web. But so for the people that finish, say, in the top 50, they're going to get cash, gift cards. Kind of like what I've been doing with these surveys now that kind of tie that in is giving away cash to these guys. It's completely for free. It's just for participation. And for those that don't say cash in that top 50, like a daily fantasy tournament, we're still going to award them with cash credits, credits they can accumulate and eventually trade in for gift cards or for other prizes, headphones, a PlayStation eventually, whatever they want. Okay. And so it's a way for people to participate. And while they're watching, all of us are degenerates betting or watching these games anyway, and so it's going to be cool for people to have an extra shot at some free money. But that's where the Bitcoin comes in. And I think for this crowd that's kind of afraid to really invest or put their own money into it, is we're going to have an option on Playbook for people to save these cash credits via Playbook and trade them in for Bitcoin. And even if it's just 0.0001 Bitcoin that's worth $5, well, the idea is, hey, in 3 years that might be worth $500, or 5 years, whatever it is. Sure. And it's a free chance at making that investment, as opposed to having to fork up $350 to buy your first Bitcoin. And so I think there's going to be, this isn't just me or Playbook or whatever it is. I think there's going to be a lot more ways. The evolution of how to acquire Bitcoin is going to be huge the next few years.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you guys on for this, because this was like I said, brand new to me, and I'm sure it's brand new to a lot of people. Do you guys do a lot of investing off to the side, not related to Bitcoin, like stock market and stuff like that?
Yeah, I have in the past. Not as much as I did before, actually.
Okay.
ZonaCats might have more to that.
Okay.
Yeah, I do some investing. I have a little bit of a finance background. I majored in econ and comp sci, so I work today in a comp sci role, but I kind of do, I wouldn't call it day trading. It's nowhere close to that. It's kind of a for fun investing. What's that? Yeah, the other day trading. But I do want to mention, if you're going to try to day trade Bitcoin, just don't jump in. It's extremely volatile. It's not for the faint of heart. Investing to me is holding on to something long term. Long term being 6 months minimum, at least a year, multiple years. Bitcoin, I'm confident will increase in value over the long term. But if you follow it over the last few months, through the summer, it's gone up, it's gone down. It's gone through cycles before in the past too. It's lost like 94% of its value, and then jumped back up and tripled it before it fell. So if you're queasy about those kind of dips, and it's quite the roller coaster ride. But
it's like betting the Jets money line multiple times on Monday Night Football. That's what it is.
Sober up a little bit. Yep. So it's not like you can't go into it thinking you're just gonna flip it like buying a shitty house and flipping it a few months later for thousands of dollars of profit.
No, you're not. You should not go in with those kind of expectations. It could go in any direction. It used to be pretty predictable in the first few years, and I know several people. I know people that made a killing just kind of tracking and selling and trading when those swings happen. It was was like clockwork. China would always buy, and then Europe would always sell. It was a joke, but now it goes all over the place. It's impossible to predict.
Okay, so let's get into more of the online sports betting part of this, because obviously that's what we do here, or we try to do, is educate with sports betting and whatnot. So when it comes to online sports betting, did I lose you guys?
Nope.
Just for a second, I'm
okay.
here.
Lost you.
Yeah.
Okay. So when it comes to online sports betting, how will Bitcoin change the overall online sports betting experience?
Well, I mentioned earlier, it's basically virtual cash. It lets you you have liquidity. Your funds aren't tied up. I think for the recreational bettor, the small bettor, it's going to be intriguing for them. But for the big time bettors, the pros, the semi pros, the fluctuations may not be are not going to really fly with them. I can see that being an issue, but I think it's got the potential, especially just overall online gambling. Poker. If you do slots online, if you play table games online, it lets you literally take like $20 out of your bank account, like you would out of your wallet. Put it in that slot machine, or throw it down on some craps and play, and then pull it out, and put it back in your wallet, or put it back in your bank account. It's very good for those kind of use cases. For people who are betting, 4, 5, 6 digits. The ability to move money around is intriguing quickly. You don't want to tie up that kind of money in accounts, but the fluctuations, especially in its infancy, I could see this once this price kind of stabilizes, or shows a small incremental increase over time. Then I could see some of the big bettors get into this. But
so you think this is more recreational bettors at this moment?
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of jump in. He said, I agree with what he said. I think it's good to realize, you're putting money in and you're betting on a game. And if I wanted to, when you bet on 5 dimes typically, and you want to cash out a few $1,000s, whatever it is, you have to wait for either a wire transfer, you have to wait for the Western Union or the check to get in the mail. When you're using Bitcoin, I mean, it instantly goes back into your Bitcoin wallet. Now, so when he was saying wallet, like you literally have a Bitcoin wallet via Coinbase or whatever site you're using. And so you're able to deposit, play a game, bet it, and then put it right back in your wallet, almost as if you're at the casino or at the sports book. And so that's where, for a recreational bettor, not betting 4, 5, 6 figures, because a lot of bigger bettors probably don't have that much Bitcoin. Maybe they would down the road for the simplicity of it, but for the recreational bettor, maybe he's only betting $10, $25, $50 a game. They don't have to wait a month or 2 weeks, whatever it is, for the wire transfer or check to get in. Once they make a withdrawal, they can just put it in their Bitcoin wallet immediately, as if they had just cashed out at the window. Does that make sense a little bit more?
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So,
I mean, and plus, you got a lot of guys that who are, I hate to use the word, sharp, or do it the right way. Betting early, getting on those early lines. You're placing your bets in Bitcoin. Then whatever sum it is, Bitcoin could drop 20% by the time the game rolls around, and or the opposite, it could be up twice as much. But it's just that sort of additional risk on large bets. When you have large amounts of money online, it makes you a little bit queasy. I mean, I like to use Bitcoin for like a lot of my recreational bets. I'd say about maybe 20-25% of my action is through Bitcoin sports, Bitcoin books. You get some great lines though. You get access to these European-based books with great lines on a lot of the American sports. Where they don't get a lot of action. Whereas here, especially with the U.S.-based books, you're going to get a half point or 10, 20 cents off. So there's advantages to it for sure.
Okay. Do you find line shopping to be pretty easy then through those sites? Like, Would you compare it in that regards to just our normal books where there might be square books and sharp books with Bitcoin?
Well, the two that I use, Nitrogen, they're basically scalping odds they use the same odds service as Pinnacle.
Okay.
So you'll notice their odds are almost exactly identical. And CloudBet, I'd equate them, I believe they use the same service that Bet365 does. And so they're both, pretty much, they're European books. I mean, they're based out of Europe. You get a lot of great options on soccer. They don't really focus a lot on the American sports, but they still have the same limits. They still have all the games and just as many options. It's just I don't think they get as much action on those sort of games.
A fun little addition to this. So I have a buddy who's trying to start, and he has started an actual Bitcoin sports book, and mostly for American use in American sports. And it's called CasinoBitco.in, so Casino Bitcoin with the dot before the IN. And it was interesting. They scan lines from BetOnline, or they were. And as we know, BetOnline releases pretty early on Sundays for NCAA football sides and totals as well. Either Chris or BetOnline open first for totals. And they just got murdered. Like big Bitcoin bettors would come in and just hammer those spreads that would set up 10-plus point middles, or they were just the completely wrong line. And so they actually had to bounce off. They left and bagged the BetOnline lines. And so I don't know what they're using now. I don't think it's Bet365 or Pinnacle because they're doing more American-based. They might have hired like one of the companies that run like a local-based site or something. But
Okay.
I thought it was interesting that they did try using BetOnline and trying to do this American kind of Americanized version of it, and they just got taken to the shit. Got taken to the shit.
Yeah. I guess that's a tough way of learning.
Yeah, they're trying to figure it out. I mean, everyone is, and so yeah, it's interesting. It's good.
Bookmaking is not easy. It's difficult. I mean, anyone that's tried or been involved in it, it's pretty difficult. But they write books for 7-year-olds now. Getting that on.
Yeah, like Linda Train said last week. There's no such thing as like a free bet. So, But so when it comes to people that are new to Bitcoin, how would you recommend them approaching it? I assume like some baby steps as they try and learn a little bit more about how the technology and whatnot works.
Go get a Coinbase account set up. It is a little bit of effort. You got to give them your personal info. Coinbase is legit. I mean, they're a legit business. They're not going to try to fool the government. You can link your bank account. You can either do that instantly or through an ACH confirmation. It might take a day or two. But once you've got your Coinbase account set up, you just purchase, a tenth of a Bitcoin or some small increment, $10, $20, $100, whatever you're comfortable with, and go try out one of these Bitcoin-based books. And you're going to get blown away by the odds. You're going to get so much better odds. And I think you'll get blown away how easily it